I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody.
It's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Hi again, everybody. It's now 5 o'clock in New York. Donald Trump has for months now been pushing back against any questions about the Epstein files. And today, following the release of the letter Donald Trump allegedly wrote to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday book, complete with a risque drawing, Donald Trump has a new phrase for the scandal. He's calling it, quote, a dead issue. The birthday letter was part of the evidence that the House Oversight Committee was able to obtain from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, thanks to a subpoena. And as we reported in the last hour, it was not the only Trump-related document they have unearthed. There was also a photo showing Epstein with a giant check, supposedly from Donald Trump, that Jeffrey Epstein was getting in return for selling a, quote, fully depreciated woman, let that sink in, who the Wall Street Journal reports was at the time in her 20s. Meaning that no matter what Donald Trump calls it, the reality is that the Jeffrey Epstein issue is far from dead. The Oversight Committee will continue getting more evidence in their hands. They are set to speak with former officials in the coming weeks. And recent polling shows this is what the American people want: answers. The Quinnipiac poll finds that 7 out of 10 voters are following news about the Epstein files either very or somewhat closely. 73% believe the United States Department of Justice is not being transparent in the way it is handling the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump may want this to remain a dead issue, but Democrats and a few Republicans now are making sure it stays very alive. It's where we start with one of the Democrats keeping the story alive by getting to the bottom of these unanswered questions. Congressman Robert Garcia of California is here. He's the ranking member of the Oversight Committee. Congressman, I want to talk about what you've seen, but I want to make sure I understand what happens next for you and the committee. When do you come to New York, and what will you see?
Well, first, just to be very clear, Donald Trump and the president, not only is this issue not dead, it's not a hoax, but we're also just getting started. And so we have an enormous amount of work ahead of us. We've been talking to victims. We've been, of course, meeting with representatives of the survivors. We now, of course, got this book released. And there's a lot more information ahead of us for our committee to actually not just investigate, but to review. And so later this week, we will have a team from the Oversight Committee in New York looking at all of the Epstein estate materials, because what's really important is that any redactions that are currently in place, like you've obviously shown some redactions already, we have to verify those on the actual documents to make sure that what's not being redacted is somehow pertinent to our investigation, or that somehow those that have caused the violence and the rape and the suffering are somehow being protected. And so that is critical, not just in the Epstein estate documents, but also in any documents that we get from the Department of Justice. And this just incredible, the amount of lies and the audacity of House Republicans, Mike Johnson, to go around D.C., to get on TV, to call this a hoax, to say the letter somehow wasn't written by Donald Trump. I mean, the blatant lies is completely outrageous. And they have to understand, the American public every day understands more and more that this is a White House cover-up of a convicted sex trafficking ring that was not just here in this country, but was international. Donald Trump was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend for Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years. There's a picture of Donald Trump on Jeffrey Epstein's desk. Give me a break. There is a cover-up going on, and we've got to get to the truth.
Have you heard from any of the victims since the first pieces of evidence started coming out yesterday?
We have. We are in ongoing discussions. And I want to say something that's really important here. Having met with a lot of victims, and there are over 1,000, Nicole, survivors, victims, folks and women that have been raped, sometimes as girls, as minors, that we are, of course, trying to have just very hard conversations with. People need to be aware that most of these women, they not only they want closure, many of them are scared. The men that abuse them, that rape them, are some of the most powerful men at the time in this country and currently. And so these men with enormous resources, with enormous wealth, they are really nervous about sharing that information and going public with names because of the impact to them. And I understand that. We all understand that. And so we're navigating this very carefully, very respectfully, and trying to center them. And we want justice for these victims.
What does that mean? Are you open to referring criminal cases based on a fresh look at the evidence?
I think all options are on the table. And for us to move forward, we have to get access to the full Epstein files and documents that House Democrats forced a subpoena on, and right now the Department of Justice is unwilling to comply. They send us documents that were already, of course, available to the public. We know there is enormous amounts of material that we should be investigating and assessing right now from the Department of Justice. They're sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, per her own admission. We know that the Attorney General has told the president that he's in the Epstein files multiple times. Yet Donald Trump calls this a hoax. This is not a hoax. This is a serious investigation. And I think Republicans, James Comer, and Donald Trump, are beginning to realize that those of us on the Oversight Committee, we are moving forward aggressively. There is a new generation of Democrats pushing, not letting go, and we don't care who's implicated, what political party they're in, how powerful they are, how much wealth they are, who they try to intimidate. We're going all the way till they get to the truth.
Let's talk about the two new pieces of evidence that I think have been seen by the public for the first time. The Wall Street Journal reported on Donald Trump's birthday message. Donald Trump followed with a ridiculous number, I think it was $10 billion defamation lawsuit. Here's the actual card. Donald Trump then claimed it wasn't his signature. The Wall Street Journal seems to be interested in going toe-to-toe with him, producing signatures that look very much like the signature on that lewd card. What is your sense of the importance of the Wall Street Journal's reporting and aggressive investigative journalism on this story?
I actually have to commend the Wall Street Journal. I think they've done some incredible reporting here, really fearless reporting as it relates to this investigation, and of course the birthday book. And honestly, they played a huge role in us getting this information and acquiring this book. And so I do commend that reporting. I'll also say that we should put the pieces together. Let's remember that Donald Trump himself has said in the past, reported out, that he knew that Jeffrey Epstein liked young women. He has known this. Clearly, Jeffrey Epstein's friends have known this, because you see those horrible drawings and other drawings in the book of Jeffrey Epstein handing balloons to young girls and all these other lewd comments. Donald Trump, in the note himself has said that they share some secret. And so if Donald Trump knows the kind of man that Jeffrey Epstein is, which is a sex trafficker of women and girls, why the hell was he such close friends with him for so long? And why were so many other powerful men all connected to Epstein, also protecting him? And so I think these are the questions that have to be asked. We have to get all the investigation through, listen to the victims, uplift them. And I hope the public also realizes that we have a lot of work ahead of us. We want the bank records. We want all of the data that we know the financial institutions have over the money that's gone in and out of these accounts. And so we're going to leave no stone unturned here.
Have you subpoenaed the banks?
We are in the process of working to get all this information, and that is absolutely on the table. And so we're working with Republicans on this. Look, if Republicans don't want to join us in subpoenaing the banks and all the financial institutions, we're again going to force votes. We are going to continue to try to get Republicans on record and try to force as much information to come out as possible.
Have you subpoenaed Maureen Comey, who was involved in bringing the case against Epstein and Maxwell?
We have a long list of folks we want to talk to, and we're working through that right now. And so I will tell you that there are a lot of people that we are very interested in speaking with that have a lot of information. And I'll share that near the top of that list is Alex Acosta, who, because of our pressure, Republicans finally agreed to get him in front of us for a deposition, which will happen in just over a week.
At the end of the day, you've talked to enough of the victims. I've had a privilege of interviewing a couple of them. This was about the most violent sort of betrayal of not just women, but women and girls.
That's right.
Are you surprised that it's only Thomas Massie so far on the Republican side aggressively working toward transparency, or are you talking privately to other Republicans?
I am talking privately to some other Republicans, but it's honestly, it's sickening. And everyone in this country should be sickened by the fact that these Republicans, that this party is so morally bankrupt that they're unwilling to even look at investigating, which could be one of the most horrific acts of sexual trafficking, the amount of women and girls and children that were involved in this, the amount of money, the amount of powerful men. Why are they protecting these men? Why are they protecting these predators? And I think it all goes back to the White House. Donald Trump has made it clear that he wants this to go away. He wants this to be a hoax. He wants them to look at the cameras and at reporters and tell them that no, that note was not written by Donald Trump, or that no, it's not his signature. And so this all leads back to Donald Trump in the White House. And we've got to ask the question, why? Why, after being so obsessed with releasing these files, is he now trying to bury this entire case and the story of these survivors? And so we're not going to let it go away. And this is a moment for justice, for truth, and for Democrats, I think, also to show the American public that we're on the side of truth and ensuring that there's good oversight in government on this president who is completely corrupt, completely out of control, and clearly is hiding something as it relates to the Epstein case.